Consumer's Guide to Productivity, your ultimate guide to getting things done, being productive, and turning your skill set from gaming to in real life applications. I'm your host, Nico Penguin, and I'm here to essentially guide a conversation so that way it can help you power up your efficiency, conquer your to do list, and level up your life, as well as just have a fun conversation with our guests. And today we have none other than Mason McKinney, who is going to grace us once again. He was on episode 5. So if you haven't heard that conversation, go check it out. We discussed quite a lot regarding his background, gaming, and whatnot. And today we're having him again to invigorate him once again and ask even more questions about his art. So thank you so much, Mason, for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Nico.
And to start things off, I want you to give everybody the opportunity to explain what you do, what kind of artwork you do, where they can go to support you right now, this very moment.
Well, my name is Mason McKinney. I am a graphic novelist, which that means a bunch of different things. But put it simply, I make comic books. Depending on what kind of people I talk to, I say I either make graphic novels for some people, I make manga for other people, I make
Mhm.
comics for people who know what that is. But I am a artist and an illustrator working on 4 series at the same time, and people can support me by going on my website www.masonymous.com, where they can read 4 of my series for free, or you can check out my link tree. And when you see my series, when you read them for free on either my newsletter or my website, you'll find multitudes of ways to support me while looking at my free content.
And did you also want to plug that webtoon?
Uh, eh, I'm right now. I'm parting ways with webtoons because
Oh,
I've learned
breaking
several.
news!
I've sev
Breaking news!
Yeah, I've learned several things. As soon as that led me to not taking webtoons seriously
Mm.
anymore.
Are is the things that you can discuss, or you're not able
Oh,
to?
absolutely, I can discuss them.
Okay, well, perfect. Well, then that brings us to our first question: is what happened?
Um, what happened is that I actually left. I stopped using web comic hosting websites because and I started using social media websites where the people are, and
Mhm,
such as Facebook, such as Reddit, Instagram. And I also have a how to market your comic course list that talks about all my experiences going through a multitude of different websites and hosting images on them, because I think, well, I experience that the main thing that a lot of web comic hosting websites have
mhm.
is just the marketing that, well, specifically webtoons. The only thing
Right.
that they have going for them is that they can market that they're the biggest webcomic hosting website on the internet.
Yes. Right. Right.
And even though that may be true,
Mhm,
that does not mean that you're going to have a following on that website. Not only that, if you do have a following on that website, there are many things that Webtoons chooses not to give you that hinders your growth, that that social media websites, they have the bare basics of wanting, even though they have their own ways of hindering growth, but
mhm.
other websites that aren't social media, that aren't webcomic hosting websites, are better equipped to lift the individual, the artist, uh, a lot more than webcomic hosting websites. So that's what I've learned by leaving. Well, I haven't left Webtoons because all of my stuff are still up there. I've
Mhm.
just discovered that it's not a. I don't recommend anybody going to Webtoons or any other webcomic hosting site because of it being a trap. I felt like it was a trap, a marketing trap.
I was gonna say, so what would you say then for an artist that is looking to publish their work? Where can they go to get that exposure? As you mentioned, that Webtoons is essentially the biggest platform. And so if they were originally going to go there, based off of your advice, what would you recommend for them to do? Where would you recommend them to go in order for them to start to gain traction and visibility for their artwork or their comics or whatever visual storytelling mediums they're going to be using?
I say this when I talk to people, when I'm on the street, when I'm at flea and farmers markets,
Mm-hmm.
selling my books. I tell people if they want to find my work online, it's free to read. Uh, I'm I'm wherever you can post images on the internet. If you can post images on the internet, then you are able to host your webcomic there. And the ones that I've noticed done really well in terms of people looking at your posts are either Reddit and Facebook. Those are
Wait,
the ones that made the biggest impact
wait,
because
so
when I
you
posted
published there?
a excuse me.
You published there?
Oh yes, Reddit and Facebook
Oh, that's lit.
because Reddit it they have it's a for if people who for people who do not know what Reddit is, it's a forum website that hosts other sub forums, and there are several forums that are dedicated to comic books and web comics. If your comic has if you can where you can post up to 20 pages on a comic book sub forum, and you'll have a much larger chance of being seen on that single post than you can ever have just by staying on a webcomic hosting site alone. Because on my most recent comic book that I'm creating with my friend Matt Fennell, it's called Just a Reaper. It's about a young Grim Reaper trying to keep hell off Earth. We uploaded the first chapter, which
Mhm.
was around 18 pages on on r/comics on Reddit, and overnight I looked at the analytics jump from like 100 to 1,000 to 100,000, 100,000, 500,000. Then it capped off to 700,000 views
Dang.
overnight.
Wow.
And looking at that, that that was the thing that clicked with me
Mm.
because the more I branch out and the more I start journaling, the more I notice things starting to click. Kind of like I don't know if anybody has played any of the recent Sherlock Holmes games.
Go on.
So like there's a game called Sherlock Holmes. The one that I played the most recently was The Devil's Daughter. And the way the Sherlock Holmes games work is you there's usually a mystery going on, and you as Sherlock Holmes, you walk around, you ask questions, and you every time you ask questions or you pick up clues, there
Mhm.
is a mechanic where you have all these clues uh flying around, not flying around, but they're is basically like a board of synapses,
Mhm.
and it's up to you to connect the dots into planning out what actually happened. You can connect the wrong dots and come to the wrong conclusion, and the wrong person may go to prison. But if you pay close enough attention, you can connect the right dots, and the right dots will lead you to the correct path or the correct ending. And that's the best way I can explain my journey from like the last time we
Mhm.
talked to now is that I started journaling more. I started seeing being more aware of the dots and how I can connect them. So I say that going back to why my distaste of webtoons is all the dots that I was trying to look for,
Mhm.
they just didn't have it on webtoons. They don't allow you to send links outside of the website. They don't
Mm.
allow you to see your analytics, the bare bones of
Right, right.
knowing how many people, knowing where are your people coming from, how
Mhm.
old are they, what are their demographics. Those are the numbers that are important that the world's biggest webcomic hosting site does not allow its users to have. And usually in every other webcomic, I believe, no, I wouldn't say every other, but the runner-ups, Global Comics has those analytics. But the problem that I have with Global Comics is that they do not have the user base.
Right.
And so to understand who has the unit, and I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up, but after finding out who what websites has the most user base, a quick Google search, you see that it's YouTube, then first Google, then it's
Right.
YouTube,
Mhm.
then you see Twitter, and then Instagram, Reddit, Pinterest. All these are the places where people are.
Right.
And when you go on Twitter, you see a lot of these indie comic creators. They are using social media wrong. I see them using it in effect wrong, or in a way that's very ineffective.
Right.
Not and plus I say Twitter because I see a lot of people who are on there, and I don't think Twitter is like the best place for people creating webcomics.
Right.
I just don't think it is.
No, it makes sense.
Um, but there that being said, there are different ways, more efficient ways for somebody to get their word out. And unfortunately, people haven't people are very set in ways that is marketed to them instead
Right.
of saying w- how things really are, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. So when individuals decide that they don't want to do that, are you able to easily exit, or is it like a gut wrenching like exit from that contract that you signed?
Oh, I never signed a contract with them with a
Oh, oh, so like was it like you were hosting as like an independent contractor?
Oh, yes, the way that webtoons work is they they have a thing called a Webtoons Originals and then a Webtoons Canvas. Webtoons Canvas is where the majority, if you're not affiliated with them, they allow you to host your website on their host your comic on their website. I apologize for that. And I was on the Canvas end of things. However, there are moments where the staff can read your webtoon and they can put it on the front page so you can have more notoriety. But all that notoriety is essentially vanity points because you don't know who's reading your webtoons, and you cannot you cannot guide those leads outside to your website. Or
Right.
if you want to sell them a book, there's no proper way for to funnel that audience. So it's unfortunate. I see a lot of people who want to get big. They on a want to make it big on with their webcomic. They say, "Oh, I want to make it big on webtoons," because they see
Mhm.
webtoons having
Right,
making
right.
animes
Like
on
they're like
Netflix.
the country roll of webtoons.
Yeah, and like we don't like people. We don't need to do that. We don't need to go through them. We never needed to go through them.
Mm.
It's that the marketing the way that I perceive it, the marketing is so loud
Mhm.
to the point that people, and plus artists, I say artists are the marketing is the kryptonite of the artist.
Mhm.
Because I experienced this firsthand, because when I
Mhm.
go to different comic cons and I see other people making their own books, I ask them what is their book about, and they have a verbose way of explaining their story as if they're telling me the entire history of a fictional world that I just found out about 20 seconds ago.
Right.
And I always cut them off in the middle, and I always cut them off in the middle of their explanation and I say, if you can't tell me your story in 7 words, you don't know your story.
Mm,
If you can't tell me in a sentence, you don't know your story.
facts.
Because every time when I pitch my things to somebody,
Mhm.
I have 4 series to pitch every time I bring out my card, and it takes
Right.
me less than 30 seconds to go through all of them.
Right.
I I remember, like, not too long ago,
Efficient.
the pitch?
No, I'm saying that's efficient.
Yeah, that's efficient. I remember when I was in the first anime convention that I went to,
Mhm.
in January of this year, January 5th. I I went there backpack vending, essentially, because
Mm,
the booth was too expensive for me,
mhm.
and I thought it was a good marketing opportunity.
Right,
So,
right.
I bought a see-through backpack, filled it with my books, my comics, and I had a sketchbook. I wrote
Mhm.
and a permanent marker, and I wrote, "Ask me about my comics," and I taped it on my shirt. I taped it on the back of my book bag, and I just started walking around talking to people, and
Right, right.
occasionally people would just read the sign out loud, ask me about my comics. I turn around, I reach in my pocket, and I pull out my card, and I said, "Hey, I'm Mason McKinney. I'm part of Studio Masonimus. I have 4 series going on. Purgatory Academy is about heaven, hell, and having 4 years to decide. Chimera Island is about a hidden island striving to find balance. Let's Go Metal Hero is about 2 siblings who want to turn a robot into a superhero. And Just a Reaper is about a younger Grim Reaper trying to keep hell off Earth."
That was good.
Yeah, it's like, and I've been doing that every weekend for for all of last year, ever since from for all of that last year, and I've just been the muscle memory of just pitching that over and over again. I could just say that easily. In the back of my card, it's a front back card. It's a QR
Mhm.
code that links people to where they can read the comics for free, and all I ask for them is, and like, if they can't buy anything off of me,
Mhm.
off my back physically, I say all my books are for free. You can read them, and all I ask is just share it around. If you like any of
Wow.
the stories, to share it around. So
Wow, that's actually pretty cool that you have that already fine-tuned and pointed out. Because I was gonna ask you, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have faced? And you just threw a whole bunch of challenges and how you've been overcoming them every single step of the way, from the big comic guy saying, we're not gonna give you your just share, we're not gonna give you your analytics, your information. And it's important as an independent artist to know what and who are your audience members, what do they gravitate towards, so that way you can make better use of that information. So I would like to know, still, in your case, other than what you've already presented, what would you think are some of the biggest challenges that you faced as an independent graphic artist slash comic artist, and what did you use, how did you think, in order to overcome those challenges?
I think the challenges I'm facing right now is finding ways to gain an income online. For all of last year, my main problem was, how am I going to make money off of making comics? And the
Right.
answer that I had was, "Oh, I'll go to flea and farmers markets,"
Hmm.
for all last year, and that was doing pretty well for me. That's how I perfected the pitches for all 4 of the series.
Right.
Some days, the ways of selling. Some weekends are better than other weekends,
Right.
and
Right.
throughout the middle of the week, I'm still living with my parents because time is really tough out here. And
Right.
my
Right.
mom says, "You have to start paying rent in order to live with us since you're making some money." And I'm like, "Okay, I can do that." Now I've gone to a point that I now like, it was good for a certain point,
Right. Right.
but now it doesn't going out for the weekends is becoming more and more of a risk. So it forces me to go back to journaling, taking inventory about what I can do. Even
Right.
though I'm trying to build up a following for the past, well, ever since I started. I just started at the most inefficient places, I suppose. So right now I'm trying to find a way to build up a following.
Right.
Well, not trying to build up a following. I'm learning how can I monetize the people in my circle.
Mm.
That's where I'm at currently. And the people in my circle online is a lot more difficult than selling to people that are in my physical backyard, because I was going as far out to the to my farmers market in
Mhm.
my city, and then going out to my state capital, Raleigh, to because they have their own flea market every weekend, and I would go out there. But as I said before, it's it's not I'm not making enough to justify going out there every weekend. So I'm looking into different avenues, such as collecting my as in selling my collective information of using different platforms of marketing my comic, my stories, and having a service, having a one-on-one story consultation service where I help people take their storytelling, take their storytelling to the next level.
Hmm. Now that makes me think, have you been inspired by anybody that you've seen out here doing those diverse artistic activities or offer those services distinctly, or are you just like thinking on the fly how to best maneuver and get from point A to point B?
I think I was there. I go on YouTube a lot, and
Okay.
people creatively
Hmm.
doing one or two things, not in my immediate circle.
Okay.
No, doing consultations or selling their information online. I picked that up from people doing adjacent things in the entrepreneur space. Um, I think I was like looking on YouTube, looking up ways that I can make money within this month, and I saw, oh, you can do consultations, and
Yeah,
I'm thinking, taking inventory of what I'm good at,
I love it.
and one thing what I'm good at and what I like doing is helping people out, telling their stories. So that's a way that I can do one thing, and like as I said before, uh I know that the kryptonite for every creative is marketing. So I have, of course, telling people my experiences, what I would do on certain platforms, or what platforms I would recommend
Hmm.
for telling their stories, or getting more eyes on their works.
Oh, and how do you draw that information out of them from them giving you an initial idea to you assisting in crafting out a creative story for them, or drawing out and improving their already preconceived story?
One thing that I notice a lot when it comes to the clients that I would have is they do not understand what a theme is, and it seems you would you and it's I guess it is what it is,
Hmm.
but the way that I would usually come about people telling what a theme is what is your unpopular opinion? And usually when I start that asking them that question, their story starts falling into place. Because before, like I
Mm.
said before, when I tell somebody, "Tell me your story," they give
Hmm.
me a list of historical, fictional events that happen in their stories of, like, why characters in X, Y, and Z position. And that's a lot to tell somebody who don't even care.
Right.
So I say I'm a believer in theming. I believe if you don't have a theme, if you don't have anything to say, then you don't have a story at all.
Mm.
The best way to get a theme out of somebody, which I'm talking to people who don't really know what a story is.
Right.
So I formulate the question as, what is your unpopular opinion? Um, and I say what their unpopular opinion is because they need to know what the popular opinion is, and because they need to know like their what is the importance what is the importance of knowing what is what people believe that they don't believe. That's what I'm trying to get across. And
Hmm.
understanding why they believe what they believe, and they can use the characters to share their different perspectives of that unpopular opinion.
Now,
Because
how would wait? So, because you're on to something good right there. So, how would you use your experience with your overlapping interest in graphic design, comic artists, as well as your ability to coach individuals and guide them um to a better start than where you are at, because you already went through all that up and downs with webtoons, and with your support they can essentially avoid those pitfalls that took you some time to get acquainted with, and get them on the right track as soon as possible. Is that what you're saying essentially?
Mhm. Essentially, yes.
And that's in both the graphic design aspect, or is that only with the storytelling, or
Oh
like
no,
do you
this
do coaching for individuals that draw and create, or just individuals that have a need for storytelling?
right now I'm doing coaching for individuals that have a need for storytelling.
Gotcha. Okay.
The how to market your story is more of a general idea is like more of a general idea that I'm adding on to over time of because like I said, I'm moving well, not like I said, I'm exploring Pinterest because I've
Mm.
recently figured out what Pinterest was. Because
Mm.
before I knew what Pinterest was, I thought it was just, oh, it's just a thing that women use for dresses, I guess, and mood boards. Outside of that, I did not know what it was. But
Mm-hmm.
when I went on a deep dive of like
Right,
understanding
right.
what it was, it's a search engine that uses pictures. And I'm like, what? It's a search engine that uses pictures and it encourages links outside of the platform.
Yep.
Every single social media discourages links outside of platforms, and now and now I'm finding out there is
New
a
information.
search engine that wants you to do that, and it drives traffic and it drives traffic to whatever link you're trying to traffic people to. And
Hmm.
I haven't heard that since YouTube. And I tried doing podcasting myself,
Right.
and it's I hate saying things are hard or easy because I believe that difficulty is relative,
It is.
but but I've done the podcasting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Gaining awareness for a podcast, it's the cards are very much stacked against newcomers.
Right.
And unless somebody understands a gimmick of how to get people to sit for an extended periods of time, because I looked at my analytics ever since I started my podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting to see where's the jump off point because it's different for every video.
Right.
And you would have a video for about an hour, and the median would be around 5 minutes. And then I would look on YouTube and seeing like, is that natural? And is that normal? And turns out it's pretty normal to have analytics that's like that would drop off like that for like a regular podcast on YouTube.
Hmm.
So when
Do you
that's
know like
stated,
do you know like at like what point would you start looking at that information and either use that as a fuel to motivate you, or have it be like one of those like business decisions where you're like, I'm investing so much time, energy, and resources into this. Now I gotta like stop doing this YouTube thing. Or would you be like, okay, I know what I need to start working on to start improving that rate of return?
right now my strategy with YouTube and the podcast is seeing what am I getting engagement? Am I reaching people?
Mhm.
Are people responding? I do get a few response on YouTube, and right now I'm trying to delegate how important are the numbers,
Right.
because a huge chunk of 20 of last year. I'm not dating this podcast, but I'm just gonna say last year was me chasing vanity metrics,
Okay.
because I was also on TikTok as well,
Mhm.
and TikTok is will give you a lot of interesting views,
Right.
a lot of high numbers, but
Mhm.
just like with webtoons, if you're not doing it right, you cannot funnel people outside of that platform. You cannot post a hyperlink in the comment section or in the description for people to leave TikTok and go to your website or any other place
Mm.
unless you pay for those ads.
And it's just for awareness then at that point.
Yeah, it's just for an awareness. And
You're
I'm
trying to find
so
that true fan.
yeah, and I'm so angry that I did not find out a more effective way to host my comics on my website.
Mm.
Because for a
Yeah, but
while
then
I
you could
just
be the one-stop shop consultant for those individuals then that are looking for that whole assistance then.
oh, excuse me?
You could do that. I'm saying you could be that consultant that accepts those graphic designers, those graphic novelists that are looking to get that sort of a walkthrough and that confirmation on how to do it right, since you already have that expertise on how it went for you.
Mm. I
Because
yeah, you're
if they're willing to pay your bills for that knowledge that you so keenly have, as well as giving them your personal recommendations on where they need to be going to post their comics and other graphic design material, from using Pinterest to other Reddit subs and stuff like that. Like, the knowledge that you have is so valuable to somebody else that you can just like essentially say, hey, well, if you need that information, I have that information. Hit me up. We can negotiate, discuss how much you know, I'm going to charge you to provide that information and that walkthrough. And now you have money to then, take it and invest it in either new tools and or more services, more marketing to expand. And, because I'm always thinking, how can I help scale that idea to get it to a much more productive endeavor,
oh, yes,
instead of feeling like
exactly.
you can't do anything because you don't have the funds. And I remember speaking to my mentor, and he said that the reason artists always die broke and with no money is that they don't know how to ask for money correctly. And if you recognize that everything you do as an artist essentially has value to somebody else who's either starting or somebody who recognizes the sacrifice and all the things that you have to do, being the people that are around you, your family members, your friends, people that see like, wow, you're very dedicated at trying to provide the utmost value and you're trying to get your very well earned money. So I'm going to go to that specific website that you tell me to because I want to provide you some support for the amazing artwork or the amazing story, or I want to be able to have you guide me because you went through this entire process eons ago. We're not going to mention what year, but you went through this entire process years ago, so you have that level of expertise that now this new listener is looking for, because that's the whole point that a gamer's guide to productivity is striving for, is to provide you valuable insight from experts in their fields, and then have those experts, if at whenever they're looking to, what, I'm going to put down a little bit of time in my schedule to consult and provide a perspective to somebody else, somebody who wants to get into that comic field, who wants to get into that independent graphic design space, even website hosting, because I see you have a website. So about the website scene. So there's a lot of value that you can provide somebody that's looking to get into the graphic design game. And because you've already went through that battle with webtoons, now you can provide, that indie feedback. And that's going to enable you to propel yourself as somebody that can provide a specific expertise that maybe individuals that are around you, they may not respect that you have that level of expertise. But when let's say the next John Doe who has like $100,000 in sales is looking at you as like, hey, how can I get my catalog online so that way I can start selling? Now you can have that engaging conversation with somebody that can make a big payday. and that way
Mhm.
you can start looking like, wow, my information gathering from those hard years of work, now I can get, 5, 10, $15,000 for a 2-hour conversation, because to that individual, that 2-hour conversation was worth thousands of dollars in sales, because now they get to cut out webtoons, and now they get to make their direct views, their direct money, direct donations, and they get to cut out these other people that are giving them only 15-20%, versus your explanation can help somebody get 70-80%, get the bigger share, and still be able to have that visibility and awareness and make a decent living. Like, that's why I'm like, yeah, those are really great ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, yeah, what you're saying is really good. What you mean? This is good information.
Yeah, I've been like you said, I've been doing this for eons, and ever since I just broke free from what the big companies market themselves to be,
Hmm.
I've noticed how things actually are. And a lot of people get discouraged of seeing how things actually are, but it's really depends on your mentality saying, oh, I just wanted to be good at this one thing. Now that the walls have been are no or now that the goal is no longer obscured, I should
Right.
say, um people see how far their journey is.
Exactly.
But when you start asking question of how can I make this journey less tedious, it's going to be tedious,
Mm.
but you have
Hmm.
to find ways to make it fun or
Right.
manageable, or
Right.
realize I can or audit what you can do. What is your best abilities? So you can go from point A and point B in a way that only you can do. So,
Hmm. No, that's actually really cool. And it makes me think, like, what has enabled you to stay so motivated and inspired to create? Like, what is your key secret? Because you've been doing this for a while. So, I'm pretty sure that you have some tips and tricks that you want to give to the audience in case they want to know, like, how have you been able to stay motivated in a career that, might not pay what you feel like you're worth, as well as require you to literally pour out blood, sweat, and tears to come up with a lot of this high quality and creative work. So, what enabled you to be so steady in that?
unpopular opinion, don't have a plan B.
Mm.
Because when I was working at different jobs, they
Hmm.
were paying me well, and because they were paying me well, I didn't feel like I needed to do extra things.
Mm.
I felt that, oh, if I was getting paid by my job, I didn't really have to focus on marketing that much. So I would stay on Webtoons, or I'd stay on a market that or on a platform that's a they'll market for me. And if
Hmm.
I didn't get what I was going to if I didn't get what I wanted to see, it really didn't matter, because I was making what I wanted to make. In terms of the content that I want to make. But in terms of the revenue, how I would get paid from that content, I needed to be uncomfortable to notice this isn't working. I want this to work. I've seen people make money off of doing more ridiculous things than what I'm doing right now. So what makes it work for them? And if I can find ways if I can understand how they use their abilities
Hmm.
to get from point A to point B, then I can find out what abilities that I have, that I can learn, that only I can do,
Right.
so I can go from point A to point B. It's just the fact
Mm.
that knowing that it's either this or not bearing the fact to going back to a comfortable lifestyle, and going back to a comfortable lifestyle, having um, I guess a 9 to 5. Even
No, that's
though it was
understandable.
comfortable, I just didn't like that comfortability. I didn't care. I guess I still cared, but it didn't mean as much. Success didn't really mean as much when somebody is paying your bills for you, I
Mm.
suppose.
You like that independence.
I in that sense, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So I got you with the last question. This may be relatively easy, or this may be very hard. What has been your favorite collaboration or project that you've worked with another fellow artist or creator that has been very fulfilling or enriching to you?
I'll have to say, working with Matt Fennell with Just a Reaper. It's about a young Grim Reaper trying to keep a hell off Earth. I remember, I forgot what year it was. It was a while ago. I think it was probably like 3 years ago. He came to me. He had an idea for a cartoon that he wanted to make. He had the characters. And he gave me the characters, and I gave him the world that the characters lived in.
Hmm.
And after an 8-hour call, we just hashed it out. I told you this in the last
Hmm.
podcast. That had to be my favorite collaboration so far, um, because I don't think I've ever experienced like just a way of just tag teaming uh like a project like that. And now we're working on it. Now, like I told said earlier in the podcast,
Hmm.
we uploaded first chapter on Reddit, got 700,000 views, and people absolutely love it. And now the new problem, the good problem that we're trying to find out is how can we turn those eyeballs, that dedicated audience into dollar signs. How can we monetize them? And that's the new thing that's the thing for this year that I'm learning how to do efficiently. And we're learning it's a rapid learning process. And I also love working with him on Let's Go Metal Hero. Uh, even though it was like had a rocky start, but we're getting it done. We're getting it done.
Oh no, that's fantastic. It sounds like it's good problems that are occurring, and less roadblocks and less feeling like unworthiness, and more in time to start formulating how to turn this into that. How do you turn 700,000 eyeballs into a good payday, to make sure that what you're doing has its actual worth with the market, with the fans, with the potential true fans and individuals that are out there. So thank you so much, Mason, for bringing that perspective and that ideology of never giving up, having staying true to your core beliefs, finding out to how to stand on your own ground, specifically on your quest to have your rights and your information from webtoons. Didn't go well, but it's a learning lesson. So I applaud you very much for your hard work that you've been doing since last year. And then one more time, let everybody know where they can go to support you and to engage with you, or wherever else you want them to go.
Well, you can go on my website, www.masonist.com. You can read my comics. You can help me out by reading my comics and sharing them out on my website, or you can go on my Substack, sign up to my newsletter, or right now I'm uploading all of my comics periodically straight to your email. So if you don't want to sit down and read every single page, because Purgatory Academy is like around 300 pages right now, Chimera Island's at like 70 pages or something, and so on and so forth. If you don't want to sit down and reading all of that, then you can have 8 pages uploaded to your email, for once every week for each series. So it's a fun time. It's a fun time, and you can
No,
find ways to
absolutely.
support me on that on my Substack as well. So, which is my
Hey,
newsletter. So.
Hey, no, I appreciate you coming, because we might have to make this on an annual thing. So we'll check in on your progress in the next couple of months for sure. If you guys heard and you liked any of this information, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. This is also indie owned. It doesn't cost a single dollar to just press that thumbs up button. So I
Absolutely.
hope that you've gained valuable insights from an amazing graphic novelist, strategist, word connoisseur, somebody that's looking to supercharge your productivity with graphic design, with storytelling and walking you through the whole 9 yards of what it takes to get your works published and how to keep as much of your royalties and your ownership as possible. So thank you so much once again, Mason, for coming on through. And remember, guys, every day is a new level to conquer. And with the right mindset and skills, you can achieve greatness. So if you enjoy this episode, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more epic content. And keep gaming and keep leveling up in life. Any last words, Mason?
Our last podcast was a year ago?
Yeah.
No way. Too many things have happened. Too many things. Man, I'm looking forward to next year. Holy crap. Oh, man. I could have told you it was 2. Ah, man.
It feels like it's been two. I'm pulling up the receipts just to confirm. I know you was number 5, and that feels like such a long time ago.
I've done there's so many things that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, that's a good sign for next year, huh? For
Oh, for
this year, I
sure.
guess, suppose.
Getting some of the repeat individuals to come on board, give us a little walk through what's been happening. You know what I'm saying? That way, people can see the actual progress that's being taken place is not a joke, but it's actual documented. Check out episode 5. You can see the tremendous growth. I can hear the tremendous confidence that's in your voice, the ups and on. It's amazing to see a growth and to hear the progress that's been going on. Actually, now that I take it, it's 2.5 years, like 18 months, because it was November of 2022. So like 18 months ish,
Okay.
almost 2 years.
Almost
This
2 years.
November 24, it'll be 24 months. So it's been like almost 18 months.
Okay.
Uh, but any last words?
Any last words? Walk with purpose. Walk with purpose.
Ooh, walk with purpose.
What my granddad said to my dad, and I'm saying it to everybody else. Walk with purpose.
Well, walk with purpose, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. And that concludes interview series number 31 with graphic novelist and indie publisher Mason McKinney. Have a great